Some people might say it's crazy to try to unseat a sitting member of Congress in a primary, but Tom Norton is going to go for it. Brave guy, always has been. He's a Republican candidate and wants to unseat Justin Amash, former village trustee of Sand Lake, Afghanistan veteran, and on our AT&T line right this very moment. Thank you for being available. Welcome to the program.
Yeah, good morning.
You did run for office in the past, unsuccessfully for state representative. This is a different ballgame, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Justin Amash, if you're going to identify your opponent and sort of, that's what they say in politics, right? You have to sort of paint the picture of who your opponent is. Who is he?
Well, if I was going to paint him, I'd just paint him as somebody I think that probably hasn't had the most down-to-earth American experience. For instance, I was raised on a farm. My whole family served the United States for almost in every war we've ever fought.
Thank you.
I served in Afghanistan. I actually believe in borders. I think that's what makes a country. You can't have a country without borders. It's just the reality of the situation. I believe that our country is actually a nation that keeps its word. That's why we should support our allies. And I don't think that the same level of vision of what the United States means to people who actually come here legally, I don't think it means the same thing to him as it does to me.
Ever met him?
Yeah, actually I worked on his campaign in 2010.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow. So back then, I guess maybe you anticipated a sort of a different representation?
I anticipated a representative that was actually going to go to Washington and not interpret the Constitution, but understand the words that it means.
So you didn't see it coming, huh, when he was campaigning?
I knew he was a little bit more libertarian. I didn't realize he was a libertarian. Have
you kept in touch with him at all?
Oh, actually, we had chatted a few different times over the years. I chuckled because I told somebody, I was like, after I filed, he defriended me on Facebook. I was just like, well, maybe he doesn't like me running against him.
I guess he probably wouldn't, but that's baseball. I guess that's how it goes. And so you would do things differently should you be elected, and what would be different about the way that you go about things as a member of the United States House of Representatives?
Well, it'd actually create relationships in Washington. So when you talk to people who actually go to Washington, he doesn't have a lot of relationships between fellow Congress members. He doesn't want to work with them. You can tell when he's in trouble because he always goes back to proposing Ron Paul bills that Ron Paul worked on for 20 years. He doesn't have anything original. I wouldn't cast votes that would empower illegal immigrants to have more rights over U.S. citizens. I'd actually make sure that the benefits would go to American citizens, not non-citizens. So that's a big difference. That'd be one of the big differences there when you go to Washington. The other part is in the district, constituent relations. I've built a suicide prevention program off the lack of actual services that we have in the 3rd District from his office. So that'd be one of them. One of the other parts that you missed, I was village president in Sand Lake, too, as well. So I won a couple offices, a couple more than what it looks like. But
you live in Ada now?
I do live in Ada. We moved last fall. We wanted to really do that to make sure that the kids had a better education. And because you got Rockford, you got Forest Hills, a lot of really good school districts in the 3rd District. Just happened that Tri-County was one of the lower end of the schools in the district. And it's nothing about the folks up there. It's just that the kids get a lot more opportunity down here.
What do you do for a living now?
I do sales. I've been doing sales for a few years.
Mm-hmm. In the home improvement area?
Yeah, pretty good.
A lot of work there, isn't there?
There's quite a bit.
All you have to do is get the builders to do the work, because I understand there's a shortage of labor.
Well, our company actually treats our employees really, really well, and they really focus on customer service, which makes it a little bit easier for us to have the type of employees that we need to get our work done.
What was your role in Afghanistan?
I was in Afghanistan. I spent most of my time on guard duty, is what I spent most of my time doing. Occasionally we got mortared. I spent some time in a British hospital watching our guys in suicide watch. We were on a SOCOM mission, so there's some of the things that we can't actually discuss that we were actually doing. And is pretty much got to experience mud storms. So didn't think those existed, but they do.
Wow, what is that?
That is when you are sitting there watching a dust storm come across a desert, and you see rain coming off the mountain. And the first time you see that, you say, hey, that's going to solve that problem. Mm-hmm. Well, where the U.S. put the base, it doesn't solve the problem. It happens to be like right in the one spot that when the two mix, that's right where they really collides, and then it just sits there and it rains mud.
Wow. How miserable.
Well, the soldiers were sending me in warfare as mud, and that experience makes it all the better.
Mm. How are you going to fund the operation in your attempt to unseat Congressman Justin Amash in a primary? Well,
as you said, one of the things that I have ran for State House in the past. One of the things I didn't do is ever try to raise money.
Yeah.
I never really tried to do that. I usually ran to try to make a point. On this one, the 3rd District deserves somebody who's actually going to put in the work. Last week when we kicked off, I've spent about 40 hours on the phone actually fundraising in between my appointments at work, on my time off, and in the evening is what I've been doing. And then on top of that, I actually have a couple classic cars I restored over the years. I'm selling those, and I'm planning on selling one of my rental properties, and if I have to remortgage my house, I'll do it.
Wow, you're going all in.
Oh, I'm planning on actually this district deserves somebody who's going to do it. I got stories of the suicide prevention program that I built. It's one of probably the main reasons why I'm running against him. His office told this guy years ago, and I've heard it from dozens and dozens and dozens of veterans and dozens and dozens and dozens of constituents, of how his staff will sit there and tell him, well, you're not our problem, go somewhere else. But this one vet who you could sit there and look at and tell he was on, if you didn't help him, this guy was going to go home and commit suicide. And this is how our program, this is West Michigan Veterans Ranch, was really born. He told his staff told the vet, you're not our problem, go to the VA. So, and my wife and I were out on a date night when we ran into him at our Legion post. Needless to say, we didn't get to our date. But when we were done, we were able to actually make sure this vet's rent was paid, his car was paid, and we had found somebody that we knew to give him a part-time job to help get him back on his feet. And with him, we started actually building the organization, and a couple of years later, he died in a car accident, so the building on our property up there for the West Michigan Veterans Ranch will actually be named after the gentleman. It's a little bit longer story than that, but that's the biggest Reader Digest that I can. And I've heard stories like that.
Any endorsements yet for you from notables?
Well, we got Pat Colbeck ran for governor. He's already supporting us and endorsing us. I got a couple local township people. I got Kevin Green. He's a former state majority whip. And then there's quite a few other ones that we're working on and we're meeting out this week. But a lot of it is right from the local communities out of the gate, which is really nice. And we got quite a few different township trustees, supervisors, and things of that nature that we actually are getting behind us much faster than I anticipated.
Well, we're heard on WTKG in Grand Rapids, 12:30 a.m., and please keep in touch with us, the former Sand Lake Village president and war veteran Tom Norton for Congress. Traverse City is more than a place, it's a destination. And for many...